I'm Michael Obrecht. I'm the Director of Admissions. We welcome all of you to this Campus Insider. We hold these periodically throughout the year. It's a good chance for families to get involved and find out what's going on at Maclay School. Today, James Milford, our head of school, and Charles Beamer, our assistant head of school, are going to take you through a quick, concise hour of what's going on here and what's been happening over this COVID time. And we hope that you'll have lots of questions to ask, and I'll just turn it over to James to get started.
All right, well, I appreciate that subtle reminder, Michael, that we have 1 hour, but I'll leave it open. I will stay on as long after this as any of our guests would like to ask questions from about anything. So James Milford, head of school at Maclay School. This is year 7 for me. My background, I'm from the North Atlanta area. I grew up in a rural town, but Atlanta's sort of gone up and swallowed it at this point. I went to Shorter University and then Berry College for MBA. Worked a little bit in the technology field and then just stumbled into education. I followed my wife into a school system and absolutely fell in love with it. I had originally went to college to be a Christian ministry major, just wanted to invest in people. And what I found is a great mixture of business and education and being able to impact lives. It's one of the reasons I love working in a pre-K through 12 school. We've got students here that are 3 years old, and we have an opportunity to really build great relationships with them and make an impact so that when we send them to their next step when they're 18 or 19 years old, we've had a big part in that journey. So for me, I have 3 sons. I have one that is currently in college, a senior and a sophomore here at Maclay. So we're pretty active. And my wife also helps out with the cross country and track team. And depending on our needs for subs, will show up here and there, which this year has been pretty great. But I'll turn it over to Charles and let him introduce himself.
I'm Charles Beamer, the assistant head of school and upper school director. I am originally from a small town northwest of Orlando, and very similar to what happened with James' hometown, Orlando has just kind of swallowed it up. But I'm originally from Apopka, Florida, and started working here at Maclay in 2000. I went to Florida A&M University, where I received my undergraduate degrees in political science and also in education, and went on and got a master's degree in educational leadership and political science, and then a doctorate of divinity from Fuller Institute. And so I always say that James and I, we complement each other very well. He started out in Christian ministry, and then I kind of finished that up a little bit with the terminal degree there. But I have 2 children. I have a daughter that is a sophomore in the upper school and a son who is in 4th grade down in our lower school. And so started out teaching history and government, and then ended up being the dean of students, and left for a little bit and went and taught in the public school system for about 3 years, where I gained some knowledge from teaching in the public school arena, and then have also taught at the university levels as well. I'm a current adjunct professor at Florida A&M and also Berry University in their departments of public administration and political science. So I love being here and love working with the students, and look forward to working with you and your students as well.
All right, thank you, Charles. All right, and we'll just jump into it. So why are we all here? What are we thinking about, and what is our goal? So one of the ways that we think about it and approach it is this idea of a special day in May, right? So as a pre-K through 12 institution, regardless of whether you're coming in at 3 years old or 9th grade or 6th grade or 4th grade, Our work really pushes through to that day, graduation day, right? So we work very hard to think about that pathway, that journey, so that it's smooth and targeted at that outcome. So one of the things, if when you're able to step back on campus freely, or if you go on our website, you always hear about our mission statement. And it's really difficult to be in a meeting with me that I'm not talking about it. But it's how we work together to accomplish your goals, and that's through the mission. So as we step through the mission, there's a few important terms, very defining for us, but I want to walk through a few of those. So one is the word each. And this is a word that grabbed me when I was looking for a school 7 years ago or 8 years ago. And to me, education is, it has to be about the individual. It has to be somewhat a curated experience for the student. And that's something that we really focus on here. And you'll hear this throughout this presentation today. And as you come in into Maclay, you'll continue to hear it and see it as sort of an undercurrent that flows through everything. I've got 3 boys, and all of them are very different in terms of their interests, in terms of how they learn, in terms of how they're motivated. And a place like Maclay, and it's a school that I want to be at. I want to be at a school that meets my children where they are and pushes them further. So in addition to each, liberal arts is very important for us. And it's the idea of a holistic education, that it's not, we're not a trade school. We value math, we value history, we value writing. We want graduates who can use their words and communications very, very well. And if you talk to our alumni, talk to colleges and universities, this is one of the things that we really do well, is help our students learn how to think, and think mathematically, think in terms of the context of history, what have we learned, and be able to communicate all those things really well. So, and jumping on and balance. And this has taken on a new, sort of a new context and a new lens to look through in terms of how COVID has impacted our families and our students. A lot of uncertainty out there. Each day brings a little bit more, but balance in our students' lives is very important for us. So we talk about that a good bit. I mean, for example, this year we're really doubling down on talking about mindfulness and anxiety and stress, and green brain and red brain, and those webinars are out there in our guidance webpage. But just earlier today, we recorded a webinar on mindfulness and on how each one of us has the ability to manage that balance in our own lives, but it's our responsibility, and trying to equip the students, but also parents and everyone in our community to make sure that balance is held true, and then develop their inherent ability to the fullest extent. So this is really important too. So we talk about the big 3, which we just went through, but this idea of developing inherent ability is, and you'll see this in the presentation today and in how we've constructed the curriculum here, it's really built around the interest of the student. So we believe that if I'm able, let's just say I'm a typical student, if I'm able to find something in the curriculum or at Maclay that ties into the interest, then I'm going to be more motivated to learn, more apt to retain that information, and show up to school excited. I mean, think about, parents, we're on this together. We're much more excited to do the work. And if we're lucky enough to be in a profession that connects with our interests, you're not going to work. It's just life, and you love it, and it recharges you. So we want education to be that. We don't want it to be just a drill and kill sort of process. We're not making widgets here. We're making great people. So this is an important part of the mission as well. So as we think about what does success look like for us and for your children or all of our students here, it's the idea of connections, recognition, and this growing sense of mastery. So we want all students, everyone here, to feel a connection. And we also want them to feel recognition. You know, what are you good at? And then are you able to find success there? Are you able to receive recognition for that, regardless of what it is? And then do you feel like your abilities are growing in a measurable way that you can feel it, that you feel connected, that you feel recognized, and that you feel that you're getting closer to mastery of those things that are important to you? So one of the things, we are an independent school, and as an independent school and not a private school, we're not tied to any sort of religious body. So most other private schools are that way. So moral development is still extremely important to us. And the way that we think about that is this idea of character development. And we do that through the honor code. That is our measure, and it's to be honorable, respectful, and accountable. And this was retooled. This is over 2 decades old, but it was retooled a few years ago by the students so that it was more approachable by our younger students in the lower school, but still central to what makes a great Marauder. So you'll see that around too. This is just a slide that I'm just going to say this is the brag slide for my team and everyone here at Maclay. These are new programs that have been started over the last 5 years, everything from the Distinguished Alumnus Award to partnerships with WeatherSTEM to our learning management system to new buildings to the Girls Leadership and Success Series, the Sophomore Academy, the Freshman Academy. These are all things that, again, back to developing that inherent ability of the student, how can we connect and expose the students to more than just what's in a book? Because especially over the last 10 or 15 years, as the internet has made information always available, how can you use it? How can you approach it? How can you analyze it? And can you ask the right questions? Can you critically think? Can you can you find your pathway through that? So all of this is work in that direction. So let's talk about the strategic plan. So at a very, very high level, that's what the Campus Insider is about. Really high level, peek behind the curtain. So as we think about the work that we're doing, so we are currently finishing up our last year of our strategic plan, 2016 to 2021. So that's there's 6 buckets in the strategic plan, and we're gonna burn through those really quick here. The framework that we use in the strategic plan currently in our campaign is the I Think initiative, and it's redefining a liberal arts education. So liberal arts, again, back in the mission, but I Think stands for individual, technology, hands-on, innovation, networking, and knowledge. And under each one of those are our strategies to be able to provide a very unique education. It's a curated education that's individual for a student so that they can find their best selves at Maclay. And the I Think initiative really focuses on curriculum, classroom, and campus. So you'll see this around at Maclay a good bit. So the impact of the I Think initiative, classrooms have become much more flexible because there's more collaboration in the classroom. It's not sage on the stage, everyone in lines and rows, and there's no movement. Now, COVID has made that challenging for us because social distancing, but our teachers are great at finding creative ways to collaborate together. I mean, most of us in our professional lives, we're not isolated in the work that we do. Most work that we do involves teams, involves collaboration. So we want to go ahead and teach that early. So campus upgrades, the Beck Family Research Center, Beck Family Innovation Center, I Think Production Lab, Computer Science, Robotics, Engineering. We'll talk about concentrations. And then the curriculum, concentrations in the upper school, directed independent studies, we refer to those as DISs, middle school theme units, and coding and in all of the grades, exposure at the very early ages, and then all the way to partner classes with universities at the computer science level. We'll let Charles go into a little bit more with that. So enhancing academic endeavors, Charles, I think I'm handing it over to you. And I will say, we'll flash these screens up. So these are the goals that were approved by the board that guide us in these 6 buckets. All right, Charles, over to you.
And so as we look at the curriculum piece of the initiative, we wanted to make sure that we are we're enhancing what we do here at school so that our students will be prepared. So one of the things that we had to do was we had to sit down and have conversations with colleges and universities. We had conversations within the school, within divisions between divisions, to figure out what exactly do we need to enhance? What do our students need to know how to do? And so we took this backwards design look at our curriculum, and we noticed that we needed to make some pivots. We needed to make some changes. And so in our lower school, one of the changes that we needed to make was in the area of math. And so we went through this intensive background look at various different math curriculums, and we chose the Eureka math curriculum because it does a very good job with teaching math literacy. And that was something that most colleges, universities, jobs were saying that it is important that students don't just know that 1 + 1 is 2, but they actually know what that means in application of real life events. And so the Eureka math program is a math program that, again, it teaches math literacy through manipulation, by allowing students to actually manipulate numbers and manipulate equations in various real life examples. We also found that we needed to enhance our reading programs. So we implemented the Daily 5 reading program. It is a literacy program that basically has 5 components to it. The student will read to themselves, they will read to someone else, they will listen to others read. Through this, they're going to do work with words, working with words. And then the last component is actually using those words in some type of writing framework. So writing is that last component. And this allows the student, this allows the teacher through individual, whole group, small group sessions to be able to really hone in on which one of these components our students are lacking in, that would allow for better reading comprehension, that would allow for better writing comprehension overall. And so we're seeing some very good impacts of these 2 curricular changes that we've made in the lower school, which has also allowed us to be more innovative in our middle school. So in middle school, we have themes. Our students work around 3 themes, and the themes are lunch, impact, and discover. When students come into the 6th grade, it's all about, you guys are launching as individuals into the middle school. What do you want your lunch to be like? What empowers your launch? So there's a lot of self-application that goes on there. There's a lot of social emotional learning that goes on at the sixth grade level. Then we move into the 7th grade, and the 7th grade is about impacts. What impact do you want to make on your community? These themes are also used within the curriculum as well. So everything that our students are learning in 6th grade, every subject that they're learning in 6th grade, every subject that they're learning in 7th grade and in 8th grade follows these themes. In 8th grade, it's about discovery. And the discovery is important because that really helps the 8th graders as they get into the upper school curricula, where it's more flexible, to really know what their abilities are, their inherent abilities are. What did you discover about yourself? What did you discover about your community? What did you discover about others? And based on those discoveries, how do you want to, again, make the impact? What do you want to be able to create that could launch new initiatives and launch new ideas within our society? We also have, in addition to the thematics, we use blue classes in the middle school. These are electives, and the blue stands for balance of learning, understanding, and exploring. And these are elective courses that our middle school students are able to get involved in. These courses range from life skills all the way to forensic science that our students are able to engage in. Every student in the 6th, 7th, and 8th grade take a leadership course. Because leadership is very important, especially in these days. We want them to learn about what leadership is, what leadership isn't, learning about leadership skills that they have. and to be able to use that to build an impact. And then looking at our MAP courses, these are courses that are designed to meet students where they are. So again, goes back to the mission where we talk about each. We have courses beginning in our middle school and our upper school that are designed to meet students where they are and to work with students and to get students to a point to where we're able to safely say that they will be prepared to meet the demands of society. In our upper school is very flexible in nature. As Mr. Milford said earlier, our upper school tends to be very tailored to the individual. To help with this tailorization, we have a block schedule. We have 4 classes a day in the upper school. They are 80 minutes at length. And these classes are designed to not only allow students to gain knowledge, but they're also able to be hands-on. They're able to be innovative. That goes back to the I Think initiative, that they're able to network with others and network not only with students within the classroom, but also with partners outside of the school community. We found that it's a lot easier to have individuals to join us from the outside when there's not necessarily a constraint on the time limit of having to get something done within 55 minutes. And so that's really helped us to be able to open up, again, the curriculum, and that our students are understanding that when they're learning math or science, that it applies to something that's happening on the outside world. Another neat thing with the upper school, a couple of years ago, we began to track our graduates, and we began to look at, how many years does it take for our graduates to graduate? What areas of study are they majoring in? And we began to, again, take that information and backwards design, and what we saw was that our students, they were taking certain electives that we offered in the upper school, and those electives drew upon their passions, and then they went on to college and they majored into biomedicine, or they majored into engineering. And so what we did was we created concentrations here using that information, using those threads. We have 5 concentrations within the upper school. We have a biomedical concentration. We have a core science concentration, an arts, inspiration, and design concentration, a business and entrepreneurship concentration, and then we have an engineering and robotics concentration. We are piloting a public policy and law concentration now, and we are also piloting a graphics design and journalism concentration. The neat thing about these concentrations and these classes is that it has allowed for us to have adjuncts. We actually have individuals that are actually working within the professions that those concentrations are around, and they've come in and they have agreed to teach a course. So right now in my public policy and law concentration, I actually have a lawyer that's actually teaching legal issues, a legal issues course for us. And our business and entrepreneurship concentration, we actually have someone who is a business owner that is coming in and teaching the elements of entrepreneurship to our students. And so these concentrations have been great for us. Students, if they meet all of the elements of the concentration, they can graduate from Maclay with that distinction that they graduated from X concentration, and we also place that on their transcript, and that gives them a leg up when they're going into college, and gives them something to be able to write on their resume that shows determination, that shows grit. And oftentimes we've had college admissions directors that have said, that's why I've chose your student over this student, because they showed persistence, grit, determination. They were unstoppable in those areas. We also have, because of our book, we have what's called a flex class on B days. That's the last period of the day. That's flexible time. Students can use that for advisory. They could use it to go and meet with a teacher for office hours. If they have a job, they can go work at their jobs. If they have an internship, an externship, they can go and participate in those internships and externships. And so the Flex course has proven to be very successful. And we also offer enrichment courses here. These are courses that, that we can't necessarily fit within the day, but we offer them in the evening. So culinary science, for example, is a Flex course that we offer. We offer biomimicry, is another Flex course that we offer. Again, these are courses that because of the demand that we have on our teachers, they're not able to fit within the core, but we're able to fix it during that flexible time. We have a plethora of different options for students, from the college prep option to the advanced placement options for our students. We also have dual enrollment courses that we offer for our students, so that, again, we're designed for each student in mind, where each student, no matter where they are within their course selections, that they're able to make an impact, and they're able to enhance that inheritability. The one thing I love about the upper school is we don't track students. There are some students who are taking advanced placement courses in history, but they are in honors courses in math. Again, we put students to where they're going to be the most successful. We also offer SAT, ACT prep. We offer that within our curriculum. So within our math and English curriculum, we offer SAT prep and strategies, but we also have a separate course that we offer for our students during the flex time for SAT and ACT prep courses. And so, again, all of these things that we do are designed from the one school approach, the backwards design approach. This helps us with how classrooms should be set up. So as Mr. Milford said earlier, many of our classrooms have been renovated to be more flexible in nature. And then also during the summer, our teachers are involved in professional development. This past summer, we had teachers in the lower school and middle school that were involved in a responsive classroom. This is a social emotional learning curricula, as well as math and reading workshops. And then in our upper school teachers this summer participated in an interdisciplinary session where they looked at courses from an interdisciplinary perspective. You can go to the next slide, James. And so as a result of the curriculum, as a result of us expanding outside of the gates, we have several internships and externships and partnerships and apprenticeships that our students are able to take advantage of. For example, students who are in the biomedical concentration, there is an internship opportunity that they do with Gulf Winds Running Club here in town. Students who are involved in our core sciences, and if they take the wildlife management track, we have a partnership with the Gulf Coast Specimen Lab down in Panacea, where we have students that go down during the flex and they actually work with marine life. We have partnerships with the Florida Wildlife and Fish Conservation. We have a longleaf pine forest that's here on campus. And so we have a concentration with FWC, and they come out and they work with our students. We have our own weather station. And so as a result of that, we have partnered with WCTV and their weather station and an office, Florida State Meteorology School of Meteorology. We have a partnership with them as well, where they're coming in and they're helping with our students. As well as we have partnerships with FAMU, with FSU, with TCC, Thomas University, and also a new partnership that we are forming with the University of Central Florida from our dual enrollment perspective. James, do you want to talk about college counseling, or do you want me to?
Sure, I'll jump in and let you breathe. You'll be back on soon. So college counseling is something very important for us. So as we think about the end of at least this part of your journey, college counseling and our brand of college counseling is something we're very proud of. So we have 2 college counselors here that really focus on those seniors. They also reach back into the juniors. And this is a point of differentiation for a school like Maclay and all the other schools in the region. Just the time available for parents and students. So our college counselor is actually one of the new buildings that we just finished building, moved the college counselors more into the heart of the upper school. But if you're ever out here at break, car line, lunch, you name it, the college counselors are out there building relationships and really helping the students think through where they're going to be most successful. We don't want to leave college, that next college step up to chance. And we do that through relationships, through a lot of conversations. The college counselors are available to parents at all times. I have a senior right now, so I'm texting back and forth, always talking to them. And it's not because I'm headmaster. It's just because I'm a parent, because I know other parents and students get the same. But for us, I'm so proud of our senior classes every year. Last year, our scholarship total was just over 11 million. If you take all of the other high schools in Leon County and add all of their scholarships up together, it's just a little bit over 11 million. So our class of somewhere in the mid 80s last year did exceptionally well. College visits, they look a little bit different with COVID. They're virtual this year, but generally we have 64 in person. It's usually around 70 or 80 in a given year coming here on campus to meet in small group settings with our students. In terms of the college application process, it's important that that college knows that you're interested. Being able to sit one-on-one or 1 to 3 in the conference room with a college rep and have that conversation and let them know that you're interested when it's time that they're processing through thousands of applications. If they can remember you, that's key. Coffee with College Counseling, again, always trying to reach out to parents to inform you on the process. And here's the thing, it's you can have multiple children and the process is different for each. So I had my oldest ended up in a military academy. He was very driven on what that looks like. Child number 2, it's very different. Child number 3 is going to be very different. There are some similarities, but we want to, again, back to the mission statement, that each student, we want to make sure that each student has that tailored process and hands-on process through that. So cultivating professional excellence. Charles, I'll let you jump back into this one. I'm looking at the time, 34. Yeah, we'll just keep moving fast.
All right. So one of the things that I always tell faculty is where you are, the students will be. And I tell them that from the sense of looking at our professional prowesses. It is important that we stay on top of our game. It's important that we stay connected to the best practices that are out there. And so one of the ways that we do this is, as we kind of went through the redesign, is that every Wednesday we, during early release, school is out at 2 o'clock, and our faculty, they are in professional development from 2:15 until 3:30 every Wednesday. And we do a lot of the professional development from the standpoint of looking at what's going on nationally, what's going on locally, but also talking about what's going on within divisions. And this for us has been a game changer because we've been able to really align our curriculum by way of doing this. We went through a curriculum alignment process where we looked at our standards and we aligned, again, our standards from division to division, from grade within grade. We also have had opportunities to do book studies as a one school where we're all reading the same book. Last year we read a book that talked all about executive functioning and how we can be sure as educators that we are implementing certain components of executive functioning skills that students need into our curriculum. We go on school visits. We do realize that there are other schools that are doing great things, and so we go and we see what they're doing so that we can again bring that back in some form that will fit our community. And so professional development for our faculty, investing in our faculty is very, very important to us. And all of our teachers internally have at least 5 hours each year that they must have professional development in. So one is within social emotional learning. We have others that are invested in the learning styles of individuals. And then we also finish the 3 hours up, well, three of the 5 hours up with the subject matter and best practices within the subject matter. James, I think you're next.
All right, maximizing the Tallahassee community. So one of the things that the board really impressed on us 5 years ago was that Maclay had built a lot of its strength on what was here on campus. Beautiful campus, 100 acres, great faculty, great staff, but we're in an ever-increasing connected world. So we wanted to make sure that instead of just being inwardly focused, we were outwardly focused, and we leveraged partnerships with FAMU, FSU, TCC. We leveraged partnerships with guest speakers, guest lecturers, adjuncts who would come in and teach. And Charles has covered several of those already. But one of the things that, so most of that's already been covered, but one of the things I'll just touch on here is this idea of Maclay Connect. So we've talked about this journey from pre-K through 12th grade. But the thing is, once a marauder, always a marauder. And we always tell everyone when they come in to the admission process and become a new student, we want you for life. That's just where we are. We want you for life because that's how we remain successful and strong. So Maclay Connects is a program and an idea here that we understand that there are transitions in all of our lives. So Maclay to college, Tallahassee to that college home, college to job or internship. So what we want to do is to be able to build that network so that when you walk across the graduation stage, Maclay's still here to support you. So if you're leaving here and going to Rhodes College, we want to make sure that we make available to you over the last 4 years, the students and the parents of those students who attended Rhodes College. So you can figure out which dorm you might want to be in, which classes you might want to take, those sorts of things. And then after your sophomore year, you're going to want to have an internship in architecture and you like to do it in the DC area. Well, we want to go and find those alum in the DC area who maybe have an architecture job or profession, and maybe they could help you with the intern. They could tell you where you want to live or help make connections for you after graduation or the internship. So the value of those connections we want to extend. So that's really important for us. Safety and security for our students, faculty, and staff. Again, this is taken, from COVID. This is taken another turn. But over the last 4 years, we've consistently wanted to communicate and upgrade our safety and security. That's both emotional and physical safety. So just some of the things that we think about as safety and security are two different things. So there's physical safety. There's also policies and procedures and training that we need to go through. The gatehouse is I believe about 3 years old. Upgraded staffing, so we have 2 armed security guards here on campus. And a lot of training. These are things you don't want to think about, but we have 170 or so faculty here on campus, and our best defense is us and our awareness and our training and how are we going to respond and what are the things that we're looking for. So that's very important for us. So as you check in to campus, so when you're able to check in to campus, it's license check, background screens, and then we focus on critical areas on campus. And then really quickly, Michael, I'm watching the time, so we're going to fly through this. Providing facilities for the future. So this has been an area of activity for us. So the goals here was to really think about our campus master plan. And so we have 100 acres here and a 53-year-old campus. So how are our buildings aging and what new facilities do we need to be able to build so that our students, or buildings that are flexible enough so that our students can grow. So over the last, I would say it's about 5 years ago, the board did a survey, and these are the results from students, faculty, and all of our parents in terms of needs for facilities. So an upper school science building, a home for the Center for Learning, a home for college counseling, and So that's where we focused our energy. So the Beck Family Research Center, and this is all a part of that I Think initiative and campaign. So the Beck Family Research Center was our first move into this, and we wanted it to sort of put our flag in the ground to say, you know, we're serious about this new way of thinking about education. So what we wanted to build was something that's cool, that the kids would enjoy. So we built a facility out of upcycled shipping containers. So there's 9 shipping containers there. And in those are 3 labs that are tied to the concentration. So you see the biomedical research lab there, art, inspiration, and design lab, computer science, robotics, and engineering lab. So that came online 2 years ago. And then just now coming online is the Beck Family Innovation Center. This 21,000 square feet science building. We've been actually trying to figure out how to get an upgraded science building on campus for over 10 years. So very proud of that coming online. Grand opening, which of course it'll be a COVID grand opening on December 1st, but everyone is in that building. And it upgraded 6 science labs, best science labs in Big Bend area, no doubt. Langford Hall is a 7,000 square foot student center and with stage, and it's designed to be flexible space. So it can be a student center for casual seating or a lecture hall for guest lecturers coming in. College counseling is also in this space, upper school administration. So we shifted the epicenter of the upper school campus with this upgrade. And then the True Brew coffee shop is there too. So it's opening next week on November 9th. So we're excited about that. And the True Brew Coffee and Spirit Gear store is the lab of the business and entrepreneurship concentration. So very important for us that we are establishing hands-on experiential education for the students. So the students in that business and entrepreneurship concentration in their classes will be in partnership with the running of this business. So they can take part in that every month, look at the profit and loss statement, adjust marketing, adjust sales, those sorts of things. So that's really exciting for us. And then building a culture of philanthropy. So this is the 6th bucket, and it's just thinking about and understanding how philanthropy works. So for us, the way that I talk about it with parents is it's work, wealth, and wisdom. You know, and we just ask that, well, what we know is that in any relationship, the more you put in, the more you get out. So we just asked all members of the community invest in one of those ways, whether it's work, wealth, or wisdom. If you can do 2 or all 3, great. But we don't want you to be isolated or us to be isolated from you. This is a family, this is a partnership, and we want to lean in for that. And as a parent, you'll see we do have a McClay Fund, which is an annual fund. The way that our operating budget works is very different than other schools. So 100% of our operating budget is funded by tuition. And then the McClay Fund enables us to reach further. So most schools are raising money for their annual fund just to pay the bills and to bridge the gap that's left between tuition and the true cost. So what we've been able to do through discipline is run the school based on the tuition, and then McClay Fund helps move us further for that. All right, so let's jump in. I'm checking the time, Michael. All right, let's jump into COVID because I know this is on everyone's mind. So for us, I'll walk through our layered approach. And this is these conversations, I would love to say these conversations started in March, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but March to May was transition for last year. And then in earnest, late May and early June, we started building the model for this year. So for us, the things that are really important as you think about a framework of how does McClay work with this, one, it's the safety of faculty. So at the very basic level, we need faculty to show up, be comfortable, feel equipped, feel supported. Now, each day we learn more about COVID, we learn more about its impacts, we learn more about the things that we can do. So if you remember over this last 6 months, there was a lot of uncertainty, still a fair amount of uncertainty. But as we approached this year, safety of faculty was paramount, and it continues to be. Parent choice is also a big deal for us. So we have a concurrent virtual classroom. We'll go over that in just a little bit. But basically, in early June, we decided that that on-campus education was by far the best. That's what we do. We're in-person educators. But if we needed to provide choice and provide that virtual, how close could we get it to the real thing? So providing a view into the classroom so that students and teachers and students could maintain those relationships is really important for us. We know that we're going to need continual improvement, and we're taking an iterative approach to this. So we don't know what school will look like in a year from today or 3 years from today, but we're going to constantly learn and grow, and we want to model that for our students. And also, we realize that there are marathons and sprints. Late July and early August was certainly a sprint for us, but we have settled in. And I believe just last week I emailed in one of my emails to the faculty I talked about. So we're sort of settling into the marathon pace at this point. We feel good. It's not just Maclay, it's nationwide, but we've been able to prove out that we can safely have school, and our mitigation strategies are enabling us to stay in person. But this is not going to go away anytime soon. So we're going to have to just think through that marathon pace. We talked about, and this was in terms of framework, our idea or our philosophy is we're going to mitigate and not eliminate risk. I talk about it with the Volvo principle. So we have a Volvo in our family. And part of that is my wife was in a pretty bad wreck and walked away. And so we're Volvo for life. So this is not a Volvo commercial. But the Volvo principle is that Volvo is known as a very safe car. And it has all of these methods to make you safer, but you still get out on the road, there's risk. So all you can really do is reduce the risk. So we're hyper vigilant about that. And then with this year, we knew as we approached it, we had to keep these things in mind. We're in the middle of a global pandemic, in the middle of a recession. A lot of questions still about that. Presidential election year, so election day today. And all of these are going to be leveraged in the media, in our own families, in our interpersonal relationships. We just need to be mindful that this is a year for compassion, that this is a year for understanding, that we still have to keep high expectations of professionalism and education and deliver on our promises. But this is going to be a really interesting year. So that was our approach to it. But we are absolutely committed to the idea of an uninterrupted education. So in March, the governor sort of shut all schools down. We was lucky that it was our spring break. So we were able to pivot pretty quickly. And we're very proud of how we were able to perform in the final 9 weeks of school. So we knew that we just committed that we were going to be virtual for the rest of the year. So it was no back and forth for us. We just jumped in 100% focused on making that an exceptional experience. One of the things that we did was focused on the education, but we also knew that the mental health and the emotional health of our students was really important too. One of those transitions, or one of the things that we put in there was this idea of a care team for families. And the point of that was to combat isolation and promote connections. So we continue to do that now with our concurrent virtual classroom students. We have one teacher who all she does is worry about our CVC families and students. So we have just under 1,000 students here at the school, and we average somewhere around 130 to 140 concurrent virtual students each week. Most of those are in there for blocks of time, but we built it because we knew that as students became symptomatic, not necessarily even about COVID, let's just say strep, the regular flu, colds, whatever, they could drop into a concurrent virtual classroom model for 2-3 days until they felt better or the symptoms were gone, and then they could come back to the classroom and not miss any time. It's been an unanticipated benefit for that uninterrupted experience for the students. So mitigation strategies, we're running short on time. So these are just things that we worked over the summer with, had a summer task force, really leaned heavily on health professionals. Our school associations did a great job of connecting schools together. Summer camp safety protocols, we did run a summer camp, and that was a great experience for us to learn what we could do, what we couldn't do. Physical upgrades, we've upgraded every air handler or every classroom air handler with I-Wave air filtration and upgraded that. We moved our clinic so that we could have a quarantine room and more space, and invested heavily there in our nursing staff. Hand washing stations added. You can't take over 20 steps and not bump into a hand sanitizing station right now. We have the cleaning crew that was normally at night. They're here throughout the day. And then we just really committed to communicate, almost over communicate. So from a head of school standpoint, Garrett may make these available for you guys, and they may be out there, but starting in July, I wrote a letter home to families, just keeping them up to date. Every week, we've dropped back to 2 weeks now that we've sort of settled into the school year, but we also have a dashboard. This is an example for our families to be able to look in to know any positive COVID cases that are in each division that are currently in quarantine, and then how many students are out for, or choosing to be out for, a concurrent virtual classroom, so that our own parents can make their own decisions on what is maybe best for theirs, for their family. Some other things that we were working on, and this is one of the great things about Maclay, we've got 100 acres, so a lot of outdoor space. And we've seen a lot of benefits and heard of a lot of benefits from our teachers and students about just being able to be outside. And it's a little colder today, but another unanticipated benefit that we look back and say, we should have been doing this all the time. And then just layered approaches. These are things, areas of focus for us. Academics, how does that change? Cohorting in the lower school, middle school, and upper school. Face coverings, these are no surprises for you guys. Helps that Leon County has a face mask ordinance currently, but if you're on the inside, you're within 6 feet, you're gonna have a mask on here. A lot of disinfecting, hand hygiene. We talk about the 3 W's: wash your hands, watch your distance, wear your mask. So distance and density, barriers in some of the classrooms if we can't get enough distance, outdoor spaces, schedules changed. All of our families attest when they show up at school every day, taking a temperature, we're asymptomatic. And I will say that I'm very proud of our families for working with our health services here to make sure they're making good choices. And then I'd mentioned the concurrent virtual classroom. This is what it looks like. So there's a big screen in each classroom and a camera. So if I'm sitting at home, much like we're doing here, every student in the classroom physically can see the students that are at home, and the students at home can see those in the classroom. And if the class goes outside, that's okay. The iPad goes outside with them, because the connections are what is important. All right. That's one of the, I would say, part of the secret sauce of what makes Maclay so good is it's the connections that our students are able to make with other students, their friends, and the teachers. I'm going to run through that. And then this is the last slide here, just as a reminder that all of this work is based on the mission of the school. Each student thinking about that liberal arts education, sort of the full holistic view of that student, keeping in mind the balance of how do we push a student out of their box so that they grow, but not too much, but then always honoring the person who they are and what they're interested in. That's very, very important to the Maclay way of doing education. All right. 4 minutes left, Michael. Charles, I can't believe we did it again. All right. So we're happy for questions. I know it's like drinking out of a fire hydrant to come to one of these Campus Insider meetings. But we love what we do and love to talk about it and could share if there's anything else.
Hi, this is Haibin Tian. I have a couple questions really quick. For middle school section, right, 6th to 8th grade, do you guys have a separate counselor or director in case middle school student need a recommendation letter, things like that? Do you guys have separate counselor just for the middle school?
Want to tackle that, James?
No, you got it, Charles. I just finished. I'll let you do it.
So in each division, each division has its own administration. So in our middle school, there is an administrative head of the middle school, Barbara Rubio Gomez. There's a dean of student life, Dean Gargiulo. There is an academic dean, Elizabeth Sheward, and then they have a guidance counselor, Jamie McIntyre. So that's the administrative team for the middle school.
Oh, okay, good. So you do have separate. In the middle school, do you guys ranking student?
So we do not rank students
Okay.
at Maclay, and that's in our high school as well.
Okay.
We don't rank our students. We use the GPA for purposes that a ranking may be needed.
Okay. So last question. Go back to COVID. Like in the elementary section, do you guys have any confirmed case so far for the elementary school? You know,
So-
K to 5.
Sure. I'm going to think through. We don't have any current cases right now. I believe, give me a deviation of 1 or 2, but I think we may have had 2 students in K through 5 that have had a positive case in the last 13 weeks.
Okay. Thank you.
What we found, just to comment on that, what we found is it's pretty even distribution between adults and students that we've seen so far. Honestly, the largest group has been FSU students who work here after school. That when there was that spike at FSU when the college students came back, that's when we saw most of that. But we follow our protocols and work with the health department. So we've been able to contain all of those to this point.
Okay. Thank you.
And I have a question also. I'm assuming the PK3 is your earliest grade. What exactly, how long is the waiting list and the application process?
Well, I'll turn it over to the admission crew for that one.
I can, you want me to answer that, Michael?
Go ahead. Yeah, Garrett.
So our pre-K3, we take on students every year for pre-K3. So typically there's not really a waiting list there. Historically, we've had 3 sections of pre-K3 with 12 students. This year we actually added a 4th section. So we should be, having 48 new pre-K3 students this fall. The application process is pretty, I'd say easy and quick. With the younger students, there is no teacher recommendations or academic history that would follow them. It would just be the online application, which you can find on our website, and then certificate, immunization, and physical, which would be required of any school. So it's, with the addition of that pre-K3 class too, it does make it a little trickier to come in and say maybe pre-K4, assuming all those kids, go on to the next grade. So it's always a good idea just to go ahead, and if it's something you're thinking about, I always tell parents, go ahead and apply while you continue to explore your, educational options, because it sometimes does get trickier to get in there.
That's a good point. That's what we're kind of asking is our son is currently just a year old, a little over a year. So we want to get him into the pre-K3 and start him on that. And then we want to know further on, because we want him to be there till through 12th grade. So how does that kind of transition from the pre-K into the lower school to the middle school into the upper school go?
Good question. But we kind of go under the assumption that once you're here, as
Right.
Mr. said, we want you for life. So you have a space that following year. We have continuous enrollment. Parents have the option to leave at in between school years if you need to, if you're relocating or anything like that. But the assumption is that you will be here the next school year. You don't have to reapply or anything like that.
Okay, so if we weren't applying for year 22, 23, can we go ahead and do that and put them
Yeah.
on that? Okay,
Yeah, I always say just go ahead and check that off your to-do list and
right.
put it in our court.
'Cause
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at with it. He went to McClay and had to move away, so that's why he didn't graduate from there. But we want to put our son there as well. So
Absolutely.
I love it.
Good question.
thank you.
One more question. I'm sorry. Do you guys have like 9 weeks, reporting card consistent like Leon County, or you guys just have per semester?
So in our lower school and middle school, we do 9-week reports. In our upper school, we do semester reports in our
Okay.
upper school.
Thank you.
I have a quick question on an incoming freshman. How do you all determine the coursework that they would take based on, advanced placement or honors, and do you consider the sort of colleges that they're interested in? Because I understand that there are certain colleges that are going to weigh heavily on more advanced placements. So do you work with the students so that they are meeting those goals for various college choices?
Yes, ma'am. So it's a holistic approach for our incoming 9th graders. They are automatically put into our freshman academy, where they meet with our freshman academy director, Angela Croston, who is also our academic dean in the upper school. And she works very closely with our college counseling team as well. So it will be sitting down, it's questions, like you said, looking at what colleges they want to attend. We also do strength-based tests as well. So we want to find out, where does that student's strengths, where do they lay? And then for certain courses, there are tests, pre-tests that students take. And depending on how they score on the pre-test, a determination then is made. That will help us to know whether or not the student has the skills, the abilities to lift, and if not, what we need to do to help to get them to that ability to lift.
Okay, great, thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? We'd like to thank you for joining us today. We hope that you learned a lot. And please reach out to Garrett or myself or Muriel. We're all on today. If you have any further questions or you want to take a virtual tour of the campus, we're available for those as well. Any parting words, James or Charles?
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. We're all really busy. I know y'all are busy. Thank you for taking the time. Thank you for investing in your children and looking at McClay as an option. Regardless of where you end up, just know that additionally, we're trying to put as much information out on our website as possible that is applicable whether you're a student here or not. For example, on our guidance page, we're in the middle of a webinar that's trying to help students and parents, whether you're McClay or not. I mean, it's tailored a little bit to McClay because we talk about some of the resources we have, but we understand as McClay that we have a responsibility to our community and we have a lot of expertise, so we want to share that. And again, that goes back to the strategic plan. And when we all locked down last year, we doubled our efforts in trying to push some of that information out. So you're not going to find a better team of educators that love what they do than right here at McClay. And hope you felt that today. I mean, we love what we're doing.
Yes.
And super proud of the kids. So thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.